Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of WFM Tipsy Thursdays. I am your show host, the Contact Center Whisperer, that WFM girl, and we are in episode 31, I believe. But that's less important than what we're talking about today. We are continuing the conversation around arrival patterns, and we have the amazing Elsa with us today, all the way from North Carolina. Elsa, thank you so much for being a guest. I am always so honored when y'all say yes to being a guest on the show, because like I was just sharing with you earlier, it's so many experts and consultants and influencers and all the things that talk about the industry, but they're not working inside of the industry. And so I really love to stay connected inside of the industry with people who are actually doing the work day to day, having their hands on it. So again, that's my thing, right? I am super honored that you said yes to being a guest. Oh, we should make that a thing. You know how they have like yes to the dress? We should have like yes to being a guest. Yeah, we should. Anyway, I digress. Thank you so much for being a guest on our show today.
You're welcome. I'm very honored to have been asked. I hope that my little tidbits of knowledge will help out.
I'm sure that they will. I'm sure that they will. So you have a wealth of experience. And again, like you're touching the business and you're doing the job day to day, which is why we invited you to be a guest on the show. Tell us a little bit more. So again, today we're talking about arrival patterns. We're having a continued conversation around that. But tell us a little bit more about when you discovered workforce management. Why did you fall in love with it? Why did you stay? Tell us a little bit more about that journey.
I kind of stumbled into it.
Okay.
Back in the early 2000s, dating myself. Well, so is the hair, but I started with a call center and I was an agent. I got really interested with the command center and things that were going on. That's what they called it back then. And so I asked if I could help out. And I got in there, started learning CMS, NICE, IEX, you name it. And I was like, just feed it to me. And eventually I became a reports analyst. And then I became a systems analyst and learning SQL and databasing and even training others in that kind of genre. Workforce management was later. I actually stepped into it because of my past knowledge with a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I stepped into workforce management and was able to really grasp it and the importance of the data. Just, I'm a data junkie anyway.
Aren't we all?
But I also, at some point during that time, or several points during that time, worked directly with agents. I was a supervisor for several campaigns. And so I saw how both sides of the world worked, how, the reporting end of it, the data manipulation, all of that, as well as how it affected the individual agent.
Yeah.
And I think communication between those two departments is key to the functions of call center.
It is.
Without it, you're just lost.
I absolutely love that you said that, because it's one of the things that I hang my hat on. In fact, we actually have a program here. It's called WFM Building Bridges. It's centered around exactly what you're talking about how, it's one thing to have the data, be the, reports analyst and be able to understand it and all those different things. It's another to be able to bridge that gap between what you're doing and operations, the actual impacts, the business impacts that it makes to the agent's life or customer experience, the employee experience, all those different things. And so I think that that's something super key that you nailed, and you hit right on, the nail right on the head. So in that vein, right, so I kind of got a little bit more understanding around how you got into workforce management. Tell me, our topic, we're continuing the conversation around arrival patterns. So tell me in your own words, for those that may have not heard of an arrival pattern, what is arrival patterns? What is the impact to, or what are the the outcomes of being able to understand and identify those arrival patterns?
Well, arrival patterns are generally based on previous history and data feeds from prior years. It helps forecast the number of agents, the average handle time, all the KPIs. It allows us to see the patterns that may come in during the course of the day,
Yeah.
any particular day during the course of the year.
I love that,
Certain,
because it's not just
yeah,
one of the things that I love that you just said is it's not just the day, it's the year as well. Like, so when we look at arrival patterns, and we're looking at seasonality and all those different things, that allows us to really, from a forecasting standpoint, be able to determine, okay, this is what the arrival, when we say arrival, I'm talking about interactions, right? So your call volume, your chats, your emails, whatever that interaction may be that your customer is having with the business, what is the pattern to how those calls, emails, chat, the flow, right? How does that flow into the business? And I think that that's so significant that you made a distinction between day and seasons, because it's not just the day or the interval, right? Arrival of how that
yeah.
call volume or email or whatever that interaction is flows in. It's also being able to identify the seasonality. Hey there, it's Juanita Coley here, and I want to personally invite you to book a WFM support call if you're currently transitioning into a new WFM solution, or you're on the market for a new WFM solution. Trying to purchase a new WFM tool can be a daunting task, because so many options that are out on the market. Workforce management is our niche skill set. Our superpower is being able to align that niche skill set with your CX, your customer experience, and your employee experience goals. And so I want to talk to you to make sure that while you're transitioning into a new WFM solution, or you're purchasing a new WFM solution, it does not impact your customer experience and your employee experience negatively. So if that is you, book a call, and I'm excited to talk to you. See you soon. Bye. Tell me, what is one of the common myths or mistakes that you see people make? Especially you're in an RTA role capacity right now, right? Correct, Elsa?
Well, I'm in transition between two companies.
Okay.
However, I will be stepping into workforce management RTA
And so tell
atmosphere
me,
again.
one of those common myths that you see, or mistakes that you see people make when looking at the way call volume or emails or chats, whatever the interaction is, one of those common myths that you see people or mistakes that you see people make.
Well, in workforce management, relying too heavily on the forecast data without taking into consideration the daily influences. If we solely go on the historical data and don't take into consideration what's happening that current day, then we can run into a lot of trouble.
Mm.
Weather events, things that affect our agents directly. More recently, it's been weather events, tornadoes, hurricanes, you name it. If they're working remotely, especially, they're going to be affected. Their internet's going to go down. So we have to make adjustments on the fly. That's an important thing that workforce management has to be on top of. And the myth that we can rely on the forecast without seeing anything else, that's just wrong.
Yeah. That is so good. I hope y'all getting this nugget, because that was so good. So many times I've seen, right, like the forecaster be like put on this super pedestal in the business, right? Like, oh, everything hinges, falls, rises and falls on the forecaster's forecast. And one, not only I think is that fundamentally wrong, right? I think that it puts undue pressure on the forecaster, because in a responsibility on the forecasting role, because to your point, there are going to be known unknowns if we're talking about project management, right? That things that happen. Right. And this is why I believe the RTA's role is just so critical. So many times the RTA's role, the intraday role can get overlooked as like, oh, they're just, monitoring the business. You're absolutely right. They are monitoring the business like in real time. What is happening in real time? It's like having an EKG for your, or heart monitor or some kind of, big, like medical device that's monitoring the performance, the health of the business in real time. I don't want to have to wait.
In reality, it's the conduit between the forecasting data, the schedules, and operations.
Operations,
because
absolutely
recommendations
right.
have to be made on the fly.
Absolutely right. And so many times, I don't think that the business conveys to the RTA role how important they are to the business, because sometimes it's seen like if we're talking about like order of operations, a lot of times you'll see forecaster, scheduler, and intraday, and so in my book, I have my third book that's coming up is titled To Be Released, but I talk about how important the RTA's role is and how businesses have to take that role more seriously because of this. This is one of the reasons when we talk about arrival patterns, right? How is the volume, whether that's emails, chats, how is the business performing in real time? And what is the impact to the business and the agents from operations? You said this, Elsa, from an operations perspective. It's great that we got all this information over here in workforce management and we know all the things, but how is that impacting operations real time? I think that's so key. And so you hit the nail. So, okay, because I'll gush forever on this topic. Give me a tip. What is one of the tips that if you were mentoring or you were sharing with somebody coming into workforce management around arrival patterns and working like real time with arrival patterns or that kind of thing, monitoring the business in real time, what would you give to them? What would be a tip or nugget you would give to them?
Communication. It's key. Without it, all this, what we're doing, what we're monitoring means nothing. So you have to communicate. You have to communicate to your superiors. You have to communicate to those people who are in the trenches, the supervisors, the operations, sometimes even an agent. I've helped with silly little things like password resets in the past because I knew how to communicate the need for that to be resolved quickly. That's my first tip. My second tip is to be flexible, because if you're not flexible and you don't roll with it, they're not going to roll with it. Keep a positive attitude. Don't go to the negative. Oh my God, this is happening. Try and just stay ahead of it and be flexible and do your best. Is it going to be 100% all the time? Nope. But you can do your best.
I absolutely love that. Well, thank you so much, Elsa, for being a guest on our show today. We covered so much ground in such a short amount of time. We covered myths and tips and why you even got into workforce management. So again, thank you so much for being a guest on this episode of WFM Tipsy Thursdays.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that is your Tipsy Thursday for today. I mean, Elsa did such an amazing job. And I, again, love. Some of the key things that I loved from her topic, right? Or what things that she shared was so important around looking at those arrival patterns, not only just by the day, but also looking at it for the year, looking at catching what we would call seasonality in workforce management. How is, if you have very special, like for example, in the healthcare industry, you have what we call AEP and OEP season. That is something that we want to be looking at. Okay, how does the volume shift during that time? Okay. How does the call volume then come in? It's a difference between the forecast and then how it arrives. That is what we're talking about when we're talking about arrival patterns. Okay. Catching those arrival patterns. And then I love the tip that she shared around communication and being flexible. It is super important, right, that you communicate and not communicating just because you were told to communicate, but understanding what the outcome should be from the communication, right? So for example, good example of that, if you are asked to, hey, we have this interval report that you need to send every hour or every 3 hours, what is the information that the business is extracting from that report so that you understand it intimately, so you can understand how to best communicate or how you can best summarize that information, and then remaining flexible. I absolutely love that. You can't freak out, okay? In workforce management, you can't freak out. You can't be like, oh, everything is going wrong. You have to keep a positive mental disposition, all right? And then be a person that is a solution-driven person. Okay, this is what's happening, but how can I drive solution? How can I drive to solution towards this thing? Present the issue, drive towards solution. Well, I hope that this episode of WFM Tipsy Thursday was helpful to you. You already know what to do. If there's a topic that you want to cover on WFM Tipsy Thursday, or you want to be a guest, make sure you send us a message. You can always visit us at solidrockco.net or the WFMpeople.com. We would love to have you as a guest on our show. Until next time, go be great and let's make impact. See you guys.